Our media product is targeting a young yet mature audience of around 15 to 40-year-olds. Therefore, our product will be rated a 15. We decided to aim it at a slightly older audience due to the whole spy-like content and therefore the crime and violence that it revolves around. The rest of the narrative would revolve around a more sophisticated approach of the genre with conventions that fit the needs of a more mature audience. The audience will be predominantly males, as many action crime films seem to have a male fan base due to the thrill of fight scenes and so forth. However, we aim to try and target females with an element of drama and conflict in our product. Additionally, our research shows that the majority of adolescent females' preferred genre is indeed action, and so we would expect popularity amongst them. Similar films such as Salt, 3 Days to Kill, Green Zone, and Taken, all of which gained a fair amount of box office success, tend to range their audiences from 12As to 15, and so we thought that aiming it at these age groups would still satisfy the target audience.
In order to gain a deeper understanding on what aspects our target audience like in a film opening, we collected results from a questionnaire we devised ourselves. We asked a variety of questions ranging from what genres are preferred over others, to what pace is best liked in openings, and also questions asking about what filters are most interesting to our target audience. From the results obtained, it was clear that just over half of our target audience preferred a fast-paced film opening rather than a slow-paced opening, and just less than half preferred a slow-paced opening. Therefore, in order to attract our target audience as a whole, we combined both slow-paced and fast-paced elements into our opening. We did this by making the first half of our opening fast-paced, for example, the time-lapse and the close-ups, and we made the second half slow-paced, for example, the conversation between our two main characters. We also realized that the majority of our target audience like a vague understanding of the storyline. Consequently, we made sure that this is exactly what we exhibit in our opening. We established the characters quite well and emphasized the difference in power between them. We also gave away a vague understanding of the storyline due to the conversation between the two characters. However, we used the Enigma code in order to finish off with an element of suspense, as the audience don't exactly know what the characters are talking about. The Enigma code leaves the audience asking questions which intrigues them and entices the audience to watch the rest of the film as they're left curious as to what will happen next. We used both male and female characters in order to attract both male and female audiences. The female character appeals to the female audience as they can relate to certain issues that take place later in the film and sympathize with the female character. The male character engages the male audience because of the action and dominance of power the male character offers to the film.
Throughout the process, we've used hardware and various software to construct our film opening. For instance, we used a HD Canon camcorder and a tripod for our cinematography. We chose this camera for its ability to capture footage without being affected negatively by the natural light we captured with a still evident sharp image quality. It was also a useful tool when we were composing our shots, as it had a movable screen which allowed us to see what we were filming without moving the camera, making it shaky. This allowed a lot of time to be saved in the framing and positioning of the shot, as opposed to having to adjust yourself to the camera's level. One slight problem with the camera was that it wasn't able to focus, and we had planned to use a full focus. Due to this limitation, this wasn't possible. The tripod we used allowed us to swiftly place and angle our shots perfectly, and so we managed to create the shots and angles we wanted. It also allowed us to get steady shots as well as use it for panning, zooming, and tilting if we needed to. The tripod was also helpful when we did an establishing Dutch angle shot of the diner, as it gave us a stable and clear shot. On the other hand, the software which we used for editing consisted of Final Cut Pro and Photoshop. For the majority of our editing, we used Final Cut Pro. We enhanced our knowledge of the program by exploring new features, this of which enabled us to precisely cut our clips for accurate match-on-action shots, as well as speed up clips, for example our time-lapse. In the same way, we used it to manually add our own effects to the footage, which took some time. We played around with the filters to see if any would fit with our opening, but unfortunately we felt that they were too harsh, so we decided to do it manually ourselves. We did this by altering the saturation of the time-lapse clips using the color board, and with each clip gradually increasing the saturation to depict the mood foreshadowing what will happen later on. We also use Final Cut Pro to add effects and cut our audio to the correct timings. For instance, our soundtrack at the beginning alternates from being of normal quality during the time-lapse sections to being muffled to give the illusion that our female character was within her own thoughts to convey how she feels in relation to the everyday crowd that passes her by. Additionally, we had to dub our male lead's audio as the ambient sounds at the time were too overwhelming.
Take a seat.
To do this, we recorded a male character saying the lines on a smartphone. Final Cut Pro enabled us to do this precisely with their precision options, so we were able to match his clips with the words almost seamlessly.
Good.
As we did this, we also needed to add extra ambient sounds, of which was made extremely easy by the simple layout of the software we used. The film title we wanted needed to be made on Photoshop, as we wanted to make it more personalized than the exemplar ones offered by Final Cut Pro. Photoshop allowed us to separate images, for example the text and the halo, and put them together so it could be saved as a JPEG and imported to our product.
From looking back at our preliminary task, we have learned a lot about how we can make our film opening look much more professional. Firstly, we did this by using more editing techniques than we had done in our preliminary task. For example, in our preliminary task, we had only used shot reverse shot, match on action, and the 180-degree rule. However, in our film, we had used much more editing techniques. This includes a time lapse at the beginning of our film opening, dubbing the characters' voices, and altering the saturation of certain clips. Also, to make our film opening look much more realistic, we had used props and costumes. By using these props, our films look much more professional and less amateurish, as the film opening scene looks much more realistic. As part of the opening was set in the diner, we used a muffin as a prop as it signified the hunger of our female character, reflecting her role. Furthermore, by having the character wear specific costumes which fit in with their role, it allowed the audience to know much more about the character, their role, and what the movie may be about. In our film opening, we had used more advanced cinematography, including high-angle and low-angle shots, long shots, close-ups, and an establishing Dutch shot. This made our film opening look much more professional and advanced than our preliminary task. Furthermore, in our film opening, we had much more freedom. This is because we were told what to do in our preliminary task, as the only thing we were allowed to choose was the script. However, in our film opening, we were allowed to decide as a group on what, where, and how our film opening should be. Due to this, we had spent a lot of time researching other films to decide what our film should be about, and what we would like our film opening to be about. Planning and research took a lot of time, but it was an important factor of our film opening, as without this planning and researching, we would not be able to complete our film opening to a high standard.